is back into it in Chester. Here's El Senior. Yes! Yes!
The center back, Jacob Glesnes, is going for it. Oh my God! What a goal!
And that will do it! One of the best comebacks in recent years. 3 unanswered by the Union. And they go into the Gold Cup break, winning it 3-2.
Hello, welcome to the Free Kick Podcast. My name is Todd. Well, it's been a couple days since the New England Revolution game happened. Hopefully you guys have been able to digest that game. I didn't see too much complaining on Twitter. I did see some complaining, but I think a lot of people this week expected the Union to go in with a loss because of the lineup that they threw out there, and we would definitely talk about that game here in a second. But all the focus is going to be on Club America, so we'll talk about that a little bit at the end. But why do I say we? Well, I am joined by a friend of the show. I've been on his show a couple of times, but he is the host of the Stoppage Time Soccer Show, the Stateside Soccer Show, and I think like 5 other podcasts, but we're just going to focus on soccer. He is Mr. Jordan Wiegand. Jordan, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. And Todd, you should know, of course, there's going to be negative reaction anyway. It's Philadelphia, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm glad you said that. We need to get, I feel like, nothing wrong with Philadelphia people, right? But I feel like we need to make it our goal to get more Maryland, Philadelphia Union fans. Because I've had you, Cole Turner. I don't know if we should consider him a fan because he's a player.
Yeah, I was going to say, is he a fan or is he just a player?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I guess maybe he is a fan because he hasn't seen any playing time this season. So he might say he's both. My buddy Tyler. So we got to find more Philadelphia Union fans in Maryland. But it's been almost a year, I think, since we last had you onto the show. I know I was on your show earlier this year. But it's great to get you back onto the show. Jordan, how have you been with everything?
Good. I think we were actually previewing the Revs last time I was on.
No way. Yeah,
it was like familiar. Right after the...
MLS is back.
Right after MLS is back, yeah.
That's exactly what it was. Wow. And it probably has because we played them, I believe, at the beginning of August. So, it might have been
them a million times last year.
It might have been 1 year since you've last been to the show. So, yeah, it's awesome to get you back on. And obviously, it's not been a year since we've last spoken. We talk every now and then on Twitter. And like I said, I was on your show.
And we met for the first time.
Yeah, we did. We did.
In person at the game.
The Saprissa game, right?
Yeah.
Yep. So it's awesome to finally meet you. No, we didn't meet each other in Maryland. We met each other in Philadelphia, even though we lived 20 minutes away, 25 minutes away
probably
from each
even
other.
Less than that. Yeah.
Probably even less. But we're like, oh, you going to the Saprissa game? Yeah, I'm going. And you're like, all right, meet me here. Say less. So it's awesome to get you back onto the show, Jordan, and just get your thoughts on all the MLS news, because like I said last episode with Matt Ralph, so much MLS news, especially trades. And like I said, you're the host of Stoppage Time Soccer Show and the Stateside Soccer Show. Well, the Stateside Soccer Show focuses on just soccer in America. MLS, I know you guys have been talking about heavily because that's the league I'd say a lot of people focus mainly on here in America. You guys also do talk about USL and just the lower leagues as well, and American players abroad. So I don't know how you do it because you have those 2 shows. You were telling me before we talked on here that you and your co-host Logan and Matt, you guys did the Stoppage Time Soccer Show yesterday, and now you guys recorded the Stateside Soccer Show right after that, and you have all these other podcasts. I don't know how you do it, but props to you, man. So it's a great hobby to get into, and you got to be so dedicated to do one show.
Would you believe that we're adding another one this year?
Are you serious? So go ahead. What is it? Tell us what is this show going to be?
Yeah, we haven't even officially announced it, but sure, I'll say here. But Logan and I are looking to do a baseball podcast.
Let's go.
Starting. I think we're going to do playoff baseball, and then I think we're going to try to start around the winter meetings officially and kind of cover the league, Major League Baseball next year. So
you guys got to try to get John Boy Media to sign you guys up, right? I know.
Well, the other thing too is like the bad thing is MLB and MLS are at the same exact time, pretty much. Like they're the same time of year, so that's going to be tough. But we're gonna make it work. But we haven't officially announced that yet. But
so you guys
keep an
didn't
eye
hear
on
anything.
that.
Yeah, you guys didn't hear anything on the show. But yeah, looking forward to it. But let's just go straight into the news. All right, where to start? We're trying not to talk 40 minutes for the news because I definitely want to talk about the Revs game, Blunder of the week, all that jazz. But first off, let's start with Atlanta United. We've talked a lot about Atlanta United the last couple of weeks. What players will they sign? What players won't they sign? What managers will they sign? And they still don't have a manager yet. They do have an interim manager, but I was reading a report that they could be signing one of the assistant coaches at Seattle Sounders. So we'll see if that gets announced in the next couple of days. But one player that they did sign on transfer deadline day is a midfielder, Luiz Araujo from Lille, for $12 million. And it's a big fee to sign a player that's played in European football. He's played in Champions League, the Europa League. He won League One with Lille last year. Can you believe it? PSG did not win it. Or any listeners that used to listen to the podcast before I focused on Philadelphia Union, P Money Sanji. Don't know why I called him PSG. P Money Sanji. We'll stick with that. And here goes P Money Sanji going out there signing Messi because they're like, yeah, we can't have Lille win the league again. And well, they lost one of their players that was splitting time with Tim Weah for $12 million. That's a good chunk of change. And I know it might not be the player that Atlanta United were hoping for, but it is a player that got it in $12 million. Not many MLS teams sign that much players, let alone their roster being that much. So, yeah, that's one team in MLS, Atlanta United. They have all the money in the world. Thoughts on this signing that Atlanta United made, Jordan?
I think it's a good signing. I do. I mean, this is somebody that came over from a team that won Ligue 1, and the fact that he wanted to go to Atlanta is mind-boggling right now with their situation going on right now. He's got 19 goals in 137 games for Lille since 2017, so not prolific, I guess, but he's more of a midfielder. So. What else could you really ask for there? But look, we've seen players come from Ligue 1 and do very well in MLS, like Bedoya. When he came back from Ligue 1, he came back in and played well. So I think that he's only 25. This is a good type of signing. Like, this is the type of signing I feel like Miami should be trying to make instead of, trying to sign Kieran Gibbs and the aging player of the week.
Yeah, absolutely. And the one thing that I find funny about this deal is, look, they stuck with their South American roots, except they didn't go to South America to get this player. They went to France to get a South American. So whatever it is, Atlanta United loves signing South American players. And I think it's just them trying to find, okay, who can be our next Miguel Almiron? Because he was so crucial to them winning the title. And then we saw Newcastle come in and sign him for what, $24 million, I think it was, even though I don't think we got an official number, but that's what the rumor was out there. And yeah, they haven't been the same ever since they lost Miguel Almiron. So will Luis be the player for Atlanta United? We shall see. But like you said, he wants to come to that dumpster fire right now. They're not playing good soccer at all. They've went through so many coaching changes the last couple of seasons. Joseph Martinez still isn't what he was before the ACL injury. Will he become the Joseph Martinez that we all remember in the league? Who knows? I mean, it's tough to come back from an ACL injury. And then you play your home matches on turf. Yeah, that's got to be tough for an ACL. And Joseph Martinez isn't getting any younger, but they go out and get him some help. So we shall see if this is the right move for Atlanta United. Now, the next bit of news I want to talk about is Tajon Buchanan. MLS reported that he is close to a move to club Brugge for $7 million, Tom Brugge reported. But I think it's interesting, before the Philadelphia Union game against the New England Revolution, Bruce Arena came out and said, yeah, I don't know why MLS came out with those reports. They're totally fake, but there's no denying that Tajon Buchanan's time is getting close to being done in MLS because he's an upcoming player for the Canadian national team. We saw what he did at the Gold Cup with Canada. Ever since he got drafted by New England from Syracuse, this guy's been getting better and better. We already knew he was a good dribbler, but then this season he's added finishing to his game, and he's one of the best players at New England, and that might be Bruce saying, yeah, those reports are fake because maybe he's trying to start a bidding war, which I don't blame him. And in my opinion, I think out of all the players that are being linked with moves to Europe or that have already left, I'm thinking that Tajon Buchanan's the closest to $10 million. So to see $7 million, that's going to be the most expensive player to leave MLS. And that's just a starting fee. That's not with guarantees and everything. But I could see his price rising the longer and longer he's at New England, the more and more that he keeps contributing to New England. It could get to $10 million and be a great deal for just New England, just MLS as a whole. Thoughts on Tajon Buchanan just being closer and closer to a move to Europe, Jordan?
Yeah, and just a little update too from his from TSN Sports earlier today, about 3 hours ago. His agent, Mike Sinkowski, told TSN that interest is high. They've eliminated 5 clubs, and Tajon's narrowed the list down to a Bundesliga club, 2 Champions League clubs, and the final meetings are this week, and he'll make a decision before playing at home in Toronto this weekend. So Bruce is just, BSing, as always at this point, I think. I think he wasn't happy that, the reports came out before everything was a done deal. But, yeah, and those 2 Champions League clubs, one of those is probably Club Brugge. Club Brugge is a Champions League club, so I think that'd be a good landing spot for him. A Bundesliga club would be a good spot for him. I think those are both really good spots for Tajon Buchanan, and he's going to what they're supposed to do. Apparently, is that the deal is supposed to be a sale and then a loan back to New England, so that way they have him for the rest of this year. From what the first reports were. So if that's the case, this is a good move for New England, I think, because then they can try to really push for that first MLS Cup by, running away with Supporter Shield right now. And then, hopefully for them, Carlos Heel gets back up and running and healthy. And then they have Buchanan to help, contribute. And then, who's to say that they can't win MLS Cup?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But a little bit more on New England here in a second. Speaking of players that are being linked with a move to Europe, Tom Brugge, again, reported a couple weeks ago that the Colorado Rapids have rejected an offer from a Dutch club for homegrown and U.S. youth national team midfielder Cole Bassett, while talks remain ongoing with a top Portuguese club. Look, this is just a new normal for MLS, where we're going to keep seeing younger and younger players continue to get linked with moves to Europe and then eventually go to Europe, just because teams are starting to respect what players are doing in MLS now. Teams are respecting what American youth players are becoming. We're seeing Christian Pulisic, Weston McKennie, Gio Reyna, Tyler Adams, Brendan Aronson. We're seeing what all these guys are doing over in Europe at a young age, and the list can go on and on and on. And we're just going to keep seeing more and more players be linked and off to a move to a different club. And so, look, for Cole's sake, yeah, the club might have said no to a Dutch club. And who's to say one of these top Portuguese clubs aren't Porto, aren't Benfica? I think that would be a step up right there, going to one of those 2 clubs as opposed to going to one of the clubs in the Dutch league. Because let's face it, it's basically like Ajax, and I feel like it's everybody else. And even Ajax aren't what they were a couple seasons ago, because they were so good when they were making that run in the Champions League and when they made the Europa League final. I forget what year it was. And then teams come and poach the players because of how well that they played. And then what we saw Ten Hag, the manager, be linked with moves, especially Spurs this season, and a move never materialized. He's still at Ajax, but look, I would have no problems with him going to a top Portuguese club. Or who's to say that other leagues aren't going to be interested? We're seeing a lot of Americans go to the Bundesliga. You just said Tajon Buchanan's being linked with a move to a Bundesliga club. So this is just a new normal for MLS. And then the one player that the Rapids did sell at the deadline was 22-year-old left back Sam Vines to Antwerp in the Belgium League for $2 million plus a sell-on clause. So these 2 deals for Colorado, your thoughts, Jordan?
I like the Vines sale. the USA is at a point where we're not really sure who our left back is right now. Anthony Robinson over at Fulham had an on and off season last year. Then we had then we don't really have anybody left back. We were kind of fitting in Sergino Dest in left back and playing Cannon on the right. And then I think most people agree that Dest is probably best on the right. So being able to have Vines go overseas and get some more experience, where maybe after what I thought was a good Gold Cup performance from him, to go over there and get more experience and grow more, then we have a legitimate battle at left back between him and Anthony Robinson. And you could still put Dest left and put Shaq Moore on the right, or Reggie Cannon on the right. But I was really impressed by Shaq Moore, so that's who I would kind of lean to at this point. We also have DeAndre Yedlin still, who's in the picture. So lots of options in the back, but I like the Sam Vines move. Cole Bassett, I don't have a problem with them holding on to him for a little bit longer if need be. You have to find the right situation for the people too.
Yeah, that's what the Union did with Mark McKenzie and Brendan Aronson. I know Mark, we all remember, was linked heavily to Celtic last season. The Union said no because they got lowballed. And look, you can't blame the club. It's a business for them. Yeah, the player might want to go to Europe and everything, but the club also has to look at the situation for themselves. And so that's the one thing that I respect out of Ernst Tenner, is that he was looking at what's best for Brendan, what's best for Mark McKenzie, and now we're seeing Mark get consistent playing time at Genk. And if Mark produces well this season for Genk, why can't he go to the Bundesliga? Why can't he go to the Premier League? Because then teams can say, hey, look, you prove that you can handle it here in Europe. Now a bigger club in one of those leagues might come in and say, okay, look, Mark McKenzie, we want to bring you in here. Yes, you're going to have to make your way into our starting 11, but we think you're good enough to potentially be in our starting 11 one day. And then the last two things I want to bring up real quick are the Chicago Fire. They have agreed to a deal to send Frankowski to French League One side Lens for $3 million. Like I said, look, players want to go back to Europe. You can't hold it against them for wanting to go back to Europe for one last chance. And so this could be Frankowski's last chance to play in a top league in Europe. And $3 million is a good chunk of change for Chicago Fire. But then the one thing, to just bring it back to MLS, is we saw two huge deals before the deadline. One being LAFC trading Mark Anthony Kaye to Colorado Rapids for $1 million plus a 2022 international roster spot. And then Jeremy Mbobisi was traded from Portland to San Jose for $1.1 million in GAM. And so I was looking at it. 45 plus players have been traded from the beginning of this offseason until now. And I want to hear why, Jordan. Why do you think that is? We've seen so many in-league trades where I feel like sometimes in the past we haven't seen that many, but we saw these two huge trades of Mark Anthony Kaye from LAFC to Colorado and then Mbobisi from Portland to San Jose.
Necessity, maybe? I don't know. It is an interesting question. But when you kind of have still a lot of issues with COVID and getting players timely over here, making it in-league trade where they're already in the country that they're going to be playing in, they don't have to worry about any sort of, mandatory what's the word I'm thinking of here? Quarantine. Yeah. Mandatory quarantine, where they have to be in a hotel room for 2 weeks before they're able to take a flight. Like we've seen that with Austin. They signed a player that is just now arriving and just had their press conference. I think it was yesterday or today. But we've known about him being signed for weeks, but he had to isolate and then he had to get over here. And then that's kind of been the problem. So I think that might be one of the reasons why you're seeing an uptick in it this year, but also just I think people are really buying into the idea that sometimes players just need a new place. We saw it with Corey Baird going from RSL to LAFC at the beginning of the season, and then LAFC flipping him later. So we kind of see that, and maybe also they have nothing else to spend GAM on currently because of those players not being able to come from far away right now. So that could be it. I'm not really sure, but I think it might be just overall necessity of getting a player that fits and can play as soon as possible instead of having to wait.
Yeah, I agree with you. And especially, look, we're seeing this right now with the Philadelphia Union with Jesus Bueno. Still can't get his visa. And I don't know if that's really a Philadelphia Union thing. I know some people on Twitter say, oh, yeah, it's why do we have terrible luck? Now, I think it's probably a league-wide thing where getting visas is probably a little bit harder than what it normally would without COVID. And like you said, look, why not go out and trade for a player that's played in the league, that's already in the league? You don't have to worry about quarantining. Don't have to worry about them getting a visa while they're already here. So,
you also don't have to worry about them having to adjust to the league. That's another thing too.
That's huge right there. I mean, look, I didn't expect Daniel Gazdag to kick the ground running right away, and now you can see that he's starting to finally get used to his teammates. And we saw it when the Union signed Andrew Wooten in 2019. Didn't adjust to the league when he came in the summertime, and everybody's like, okay, well, he had a full preseason with the team, and, well, 2020 didn't do much with them either, but we see it so many times when teams come in midway through the MLS season where they just got done playing a full season in Europe or wherever they were playing at, and they really didn't have a break, and now you're halfway through the MLS season where you're expected to come in right away and not have any breaks, just hit the ground running for whatever team signed you. And it's kind of unfair for those new players coming into the league. And so that's why anytime I see new players coming into the league where they haven't had a break, a summer yet, because they had a long European window or whatever it was, and they're expected to come straight into MLS and continue to just live up to that price tag for however much money the team's played. So I usually try to give players coming into the league a pass midway through it, but Daniel Gazdag, hopefully he can continue to do what he is doing. But that is pretty much everything about the news. I'm happy we kept that under 40 minutes, Jordan. The one thing I will add is I saw some Union fans talking on Twitter about Jamiro Monteiro. So just because the MLS transfer window has closed does not mean that the Union can't sell him. I believe the European window closes at the end of August, so there's still time for Jamiro Monteiro to get sold. But would that be to an MLS team now the window's gone? So, yeah, for those fans that are hoping that Jamiro Monteiro is going to stick around now, I wouldn't bet on him yet because that European window is still open. But let's go ahead and talk about the New England Revs versus the Philadelphia Union. Like we all know, the Union lost that game 2-1. But before we talk about our thoughts about that game, I want to play Jim Curtin's press conference. And what Jim Curtin said right here really stuck out to me. And it is interesting to note that he feels the same way that the fans do. So here's Jim Curtin.
Yeah, I think, look, you guys know me well enough by now. I don't do moral victories or I'm never really happy with us when we don't take points. But you certainly saw a group give everything on the field tonight, playing a new formation, playing with three young guys, obviously resting some key starters with a big week coming up, having, they loaded a lot of minutes in the recent week. So again, I don't do moral victories, so I'm as mad as all of our fans are right now. But as you do peel back the layers and you look big picture, you saw three young kids play against the best team in our league this year and on the road and show that they more than belong. So that's a positive, and it's only going to help us get stronger as the year goes on. We'll get on a plane right now, and now they'll go play in Azteca Stadium against Club America. So again, talk about accelerated learning and nothing but an opportunity to grow and get better. And look, they have no fear, and I respect that and love that about them. None of them are scared of the moment. They have great teammates that support them. So we'll continue to push this thing forward. And again, we're on to the Final Four in this continent, playing for a trophy that, as crazy as it sounds, could have the opportunity to play against Chelsea if we can advance in that. I know that sounds stupid to people, but it's still a dream that this group has and a belief that this group has. So we'll recover. This hurts, but we'll bounce back quickly and head to Mexico and try and get a result.
Yeah, so if that happened, that Philadelphia Union found a way to win the CCL and then they played Chelsea, how would you guys handle that on your show, Jordan? Would you guys talk about that on stoppage time, or would you guys talk about that on stateside? So
we'd probably talk about it on stateside because I don't know. I guess we could cover it on both, honestly, from different perspectives. Because if people don't know, I am a Chelsea fan as well. So inject that into my veins. I'd love to see these two teams go up against each other if possible. And for anybody doubting, like, oh, who would you root for? It'd be obviously the Union is who I would be rooting for in that situation. But yeah, that sounds fun. Let's go out and get that just made me a little bit more confident about the game coming up. But yeah, sounds good.
Absolutely. But look, I'm not sure how I honestly feel, because I respect Jim for saying he doesn't take moral victories, that he's upset and just as angry as the fans. And I think fans have every right to be angry that we didn't at least get a draw. But me, myself, I try to always look at the positives and the worst of situations. And I was really happy to see Jim Curtin rotate to give Paxton Aronson, Jack, Quinn, and Stewart some time out there. All four of those guys I thought played really well in the night. Better than some of the starters that we see week in, week out. Sergio Santos, again, with his pace, was giving New England problems for the 45 minutes that he was on. Probably isn't ideal for Sergio to play as your lone striker in a formation where he's looked to be more of a hold-up striker, but he did well in the formation that the Union threw out there, a 3-4-3 or whatever you want to call it, 3-4-2-1. I mean, you could take it however you want to take it. It's not the typical 4-4-2 diamond, that is for sure. And Sergio Santos, he didn't get hurt, and I know he hobbled off against Toronto. It was like, okay, is he going to be able to play against New England? Yeah, he was out there, played 45 minutes, Jim rested his legs. And I think we're starting to see a guy now start to play with confidence, a guy who will cause any defense problems with his pace. And I think the more him and Daniel Gazdag play together, I think we can see these guys start to link up and score a lot of goals between two of them, because what we saw when Jamir Montero was in the lineup, that Gazdag and Montero had the best understanding between each other. But then as soon as Jamir went out, Daniel and Sergio's chemistry between one another, it seemed like they were starting to learn each other's runs, when to pass it to each other, when he was going to run off the ball, et cetera, et cetera. So I think just the more and more Daniel plays in this formation, the more and more that Sergio plays with Daniel Gazdag, and just the more comfortable these two are going to get. And I said at the beginning of the season that I thought Sergio Santos would lead the Union in goals. I thought he could score 20 goals this season, and I still believe that Sergio Santos could be a 15 to 20 goal scorer this season. Not this season, but in the league. I don't know. He'd have to go on some crazy tear to get close to 20 goals this season, but I guess anything's possible, right? Just needs to start putting the ball in the back of the net. Matt Turner made a good save on Sergio one-on-one, took away the angle for Sergio to shoot at. But look, I get what's frustrating for fans, that this was definitely a winnable game. I thought we outworked New England, and the stats show us that we were beating New England in tackles, interceptions. We just went toe-to-toe with New England, but two mental mistakes cost us. Bizo doesn't track back the runner. Polster, I believe it was, who got by him, scored the goal. And that's been pretty much back-to-back weeks that Bizo's contributed to a goal for the other team. And by the way, that is 6 goals now given up within the first 15 minutes of the game. Liam Flock, there is no reason why he should have lunged at Tajon Buchanan when he was in no position to shoot the ball. And for Andre Blake to save that penalty kick, I was hyped because we saw him save that penalty against Soteldo. And then here's Gustavo Bo stepping up for the penalty. Andre Blake saves it, and unfortunately, Bo gets the rebound because Andre Blake wasn't able to hold on to the ball, and he's able to put it in the back of the net before halftime. And look, I was talking about Matt Turner saving that one-on-one chance against Sergio Santos. He made other good saves on the night too, so I get it. We hurt ourselves in this game more than New England hurt us, and I said this on Twitter, and I'll bring it up here in a little bit. I really don't think New England are as good as the standings say they are. I do think that it's very possible for us, though, to finish in a top 3 spot in the East. But I know everything's so crazy right now in the East. Anything's possible, but I don't think we are as bad as the standings say we are with our 7 draws that we have. We just got to find ways to fix those early mistakes and stop giving up goals so early on. But Jordan, your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, so if you think, I did see that tweet from you, actually, and you know what? I was on board with that at the beginning of the season, and I've changed my mind on that. So I really think that so this team, this New England team, hasn't been as good recently with Carlos Gil out. That's their issue right now. So the fact that they were still able to win with him out is pretty big for them, especially with how they didn't look great. So with them, they just keep on picking up wins. I remember at the beginning of the season, I was like, on stateside, I said, they're not as good as they look, right? Like they're getting, 1-0 victories over bad teams that, should have been punished. But I've kind of come around to that with just how consistent they've been. They've just been really consistent that they're there for the taking. They're not unbeatable. And, I think it's one of those situations where we get to, if they win the Supporter Shield, we know how that went last year. We won the Supporter Shield, you go in the playoffs and you could lose. It's almost like it could be reverse of last year. They've been so good at Gillette Stadium all year. We were really good at Subaru Park all last year. And, they could win the Supporter Shield. We won the Supporter Shield, but they might lose at home to an inferior team if Carlos Gil is not healthy, if Tajon Buchanan actually leaves and doesn't get loaned back. Like there's problems there that they will have. When we had you on Stateside Show to preview the Union, I'm pretty sure both of us said that we needed another striker. That we needed like a pure number 9 who's going to put the ball in the back of the net because, we were worried about going in with just Santos, Shabilko, and Corey Burke. And the issue with those three are that they get hot and then they get real cold. And sometimes they're cold all at the same time, and it becomes an issue where we're just not scoring. And I would love to see us go get another striker. And what I was going to say, too, about you saying about the moral victories, as a Union fan from 2010, until last year, all we had was moral victories, I feel like. And as a Baltimore Oriole fan, that's all we still have is moral victories. So I wonder, is it, Todd, do you feel, as somebody that's based in Maryland and not Philly, since we didn't grow up in that Philly culture, that we're a little bit more lenient on this team? Because sometimes I see people freaking out and I'm like, hey, this is MLS. It's a long season. We'll be okay. But I feel like sometimes people are a little too harsh, and I'm wondering if it's just the culture.
Yes, maybe. I think so. Look,
not as a dig to Philly fans, but I just feel like they're hard on all their teams when I feel like we're not usually around here in Maryland anyway.
Look, you brought up a good example in the Baltimore Orioles, and the last 5 seasons haven't went the way that anybody's wanted it to go. Trading Manny Machado, you signed Chris Davis to a long-term contract.
Yeah.
Shouldn't have done that. Trade away Zach Britton. You hold on to some guys way too long, and you don't get anything back, it seemed like, in return when you trade these guys so late. And so here comes Cedric Mullins, a late pick. Yes, Trey Mancini, a late pick in the drafts. And now they're having great seasons for the Baltimore Orioles. So, yeah, you go ahead and take every single moral victory that you can. And
right.
That's a good example.
It's like, we got an all-star.
Yeah, exactly. We have a guy who goes to the home run derby finals
exactly.
and almost wins the darn thing. Like, we're taking everything that you can get.
That's the moral victory.
Yeah, I think we'll definitely take it. But at the same time, too, look, the Phillies aren't playing as well as people would hope. The Flyers choked. The 76ers choked. And these are 3 teams that people were so high on. And then here comes the Philadelphia Union, where they had a great 2020 season. And now I guess that's what everybody expects them to do from now on, here on out, to play like they did in 2020, when realistically that's just not going to happen. But you bring up the 2010 to, I would say, all the way up to 2017, where it's been heartbreak after heartbreak for the Philadelphia Union. So you get a win.
U.S. Open Cup final. We made it to the final of the U.S. Open Cup. That was the moral victory, for like 3 years in a row.
Yeah, where you go ahead and you finally win a game after 2 months, or you didn't lose a game after 2 months, and so you celebrate that draw like you just won the championship. So maybe it is a culture thing. I'm not sure. So definitely be interesting to get somebody that is from Philadelphia, get their perspective on it, because God knows that most of the people that listen to this podcast are based in Philadelphia. So I would agree with you. It probably is a culture thing. And like we said earlier, being a fan of the Baltimore Orioles, you don't have a lot to cheer for. So you find any positive that you can take.
We had the no-hitter. We had the no-hitter this year. I mean, it's all uphill right now.
Absolutely. Adley just got promoted to AAA, so next season you'll see Adley, right? So you take any little victory as you can get. But by the way, I want to say Olivier Mbaizo, he is suspended for the next league game because he picked up too many yellow cards. So I don't know, is that a blessing in disguise, or is that going to hurt the Union? We shall see. He shall play.
Well, I just want to say something about that too. Is like we were not expecting to go in like this, right? Like Ray Gaddis retired really close to the start of the season, so we didn't really think that would be something that we had to worry about. Like, so I think that's another thing that I'm not sure how far in advance the team knew. Obviously, they could have been given a heads up before that, but then if they didn't replace him, that's kind of a problem. But I feel like, that's been a problem. And you have Matt Rial, who had a injury issue as well. So I'm not sure where you go from there.
Yeah, nor am I. But speaking of Carlos Gil, I do want to bring up some stats because, like I said, the exact tweet that I said was the one major takeaway that I have from this game is that the Revs aren't as good as the standings suggest. They're in first place. I believe they're in first place for the Supporters' Shield as well. But I was looking at Carlos Gil's numbers against the Philadelphia Union in 4 games. So we go ahead and look at the most recent game that he played against the Union, which was on May 12th. That game ended 1-1. By the way, Carlos Gil in those 4 games, he's played 5 games against the Union, which is a playoff game. I guess I'll bring up those numbers. But in those 4 games, league games that Carlos has played against the Union, he is no wins, 2 draws, 2 losses, 0 goals, 1 assist. So on May 12th, that game ended 1-1, as we all remember. He had an expected assist rate of 0.64, so almost was expected to get an assist, but his team couldn't finish any of the chances that he was creating. He had 3 chances created in that game. He had 6 key passes. Then we go to November 8th, the day that we won the Supporters' Shield in 2020. The Revs, they lost that game. He had an XA of 0.2. He created 0 chances in that game, had 3 key passes. November 24th, was the playoff game that we lost. He had an XA of 0.24, got 2 assists on that game. Remember, he crossed the ball in off of a free kick. Brugge put it in the back of the net, and then Tajon Buchanan did all the work, but Carlos Gil gets credited with the assist because he was the last one to pass the ball to Tajon Buchanan. He had 1 chance created that game, which would be the free kick, and then he had 4 chances created. Go ahead and look on the June 26th game in 2019, the first game that Bruce Arena took over at the Revs. He had an XA of 0.5. He did get an assist in that game, his only assist against the Union in the regular season. 1 chance created, 5 key passes, and then the first game that he ever played against the Philadelphia Union, which was Brad Fiedel's last game in charge at the Revs, which we all remember the Union won that game 6-1 on May 4th, 2019. He had an XA of 0.2, 0 chances created, 2 key passes. And so just looking at those numbers, what that tells me is that the Union did a really good job of shutting down Carlos Gil, where maybe not so much other teams around the league, because since he's played in the regular season, hasn't been able to get a win. And yeah, he got that crucial win in the playoffs against the Union. But the way I look at that is the Union, played them 6-7 times in the regular season. And then they played them once in the MLS's back semifinals, quarterfinals, I think it was. Look, it was round of 16, I think it was actually. But look, when you play a team that many times in one season, a team's going to finally figure you out. And that's exactly what happened with Carlos Gil. But then you go ahead and look at May 12th. Carlos is having an MVP season this season so far, and didn't get an assist. His teammates probably should have finished the ball a lot better. He, like I said, he had 3 chances created, but couldn't trouble the Union. And if you go ahead and look at his 2019, 2020, and 2021 numbers, so in 2019, he had 35 games played. He had 11 wins, 12 draws, 12 losses. He had 10 goals, 12 assists in the season. In 2020, he spent most of the season hurt. He played in 6 out of the 23 games played for the Revs, where he got 2 wins, 2 draws, 2 losses, only had 1 assist on the season. And then you go ahead and look what he's doing this season. You can't take away what he's doing this season for the Revs. In 17 games played, he has 2 goals, 15 assists, 11 wins, 3 draws, 3 losses. So I think looking at those numbers, the one thing that tells me is he's very, very good against the rest of the league. Maybe other teams can't figure him out. But the Philadelphia Union, up until the playoff game, hasn't hurt the Philadelphia Union. But I don't look at that playoff game that much because, look, like I said, you play a team 6-7 times in the regular season, including MLS is back. Yeah, they're going to figure it out eventually. But the Union, for all the crap people give them on Twitter and whatnot, it seems like they do a really good job at taking out teams' number 10s or their best players on the field. And in 4 games, Carlos Gil really hasn't hurt the Philadelphia Union.
Yeah, I didn't know all those stats. That was crazy. But yeah, I mean, you never know how it would have gone, if he had been able to play, because that game in May was here in Philly, right? Yeah, they're just on a whole nother level in Gillette that I feel like it would have been. I think he could have probably figured it out. Like you said, he was on pace to break Carlos Valderrama's assist record of 26. He was on pace for 27.2 at some point this season. He's got 15 this season. So, with his 3-week injury, supposedly, as what it is, that's probably not going to get passed now, I would think. But I guess we'll see. And his goal numbers are never as high as his assists. But, I mean, he is, last year, he had only played 366 minutes, it says. Yeah, because he was injured for a good chunk of the year. Yeah. So this year is really the telling one where he's already has more assists than 2019. So I don't know. I think he's a big hole for sure for the Revs. But the fact that they were still able to win without him, as unconvincing as it was, is impressive for the Revs, who are, I think, 6 points up on Supporter Shield. Yes, 6 points up on Supporter Shield right now, which is just insane. They got a game in hand, though, too, so it could be 3 points at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the last thing I want to bring up for this game is, look, I'm so happy that Jim Curtin played the kids. Paxton Aronson, Quinn Sullivan, Jack McGlynn. Paxton's 17, will turn 18 here soon. Quinn Sullivan is 17 years old. Jack McGlynn is 18, so he's the oldest of the bunch. But you go ahead and look at the numbers for Paxton, Quinn, and Jack. Paxton, he had 90 minutes played, 1 goal, 20 out of 26 passing, which is good for 77%. 1 key pass, 3 dribbles completed. 2 ball recoveries. You go ahead and look at Quinn Sullivan, 76 minutes played. He had 35 touches, 24 out of 25 passing attempts, 96% completed. 3 out of 7 duels won, 1 dribble complete, 1 tackle won. And then Jack McGlynn, man, this guy's passing ability, and Jim also talked about it in his post-game press conference, just how good Jack McGlynn is passing the ball. 90 minutes played, 3 out of 4 completed long ball passes, 51 out of 56 completed passes, which is good for 91%. 4 key passes, 6 ball recoveries. Look, these kids, they deserve that. They should be here, first and foremost, and a huge credit has to go to the Academy, U2, and just the first team for the development of where these kids are today. Jack and Quinn, they both could have had multiple goals this season. Look, Jack McGlynn, when we first played Chicago, had 2 chances the first time that we played in Chicago. Wasn't able to put the ball in the back of the net. And the one thing that stands out to me is just the soccer IQ of these kids. Do they have the soccer brain like Allie? No, but you can tell for their age. The age is just a number. They're not doing their age any justification. They're playing like they're 22, 23-year-olds with that soccer IQ of theirs. And it's a shame that there's no U.S. Open Cup this year, because I think these kids would just go out there and get plenty of playing time. They would get a lot of good experience in a cup competition. And I think it would be a way for these kids just to showcase just how much better they are than a lot of teams' younger players in the league.
Yeah, one thing that really, again, when we were talking about needing a top striker, like if you look at the game where Sounders played like 5 of their youth products, and you just have Raul Ruidiaz who can just score a goal from half field and kind of give that victory to those kids, like that's what I feel like we were kind of missing in that regard, is just somebody that's able to just score a goal to lift the team like that way when if you had to sub them on or whatever. But yeah, these kids are impressive, and unfortunately, I think that means we definitely need to make sure we have the pipeline up and running for after these kids, because I don't see a lot of these sticking around. Paxton, I mean, look, when we were talking, he got his first start, his first goal. That was only 2 years ago that Brendan got his first start and first goal, to the point of where that flew by. And now you probably got 2 years of Paxton, maybe, right? 3 if he develops a little slower. And just got to make sure we have the pipeline really up and right. We've already had rumors of Jack DeVries being linked overseas, and he's barely played a game for us. So it's good that they're getting their shot, and that we were able to just, put out a young team and still be competitive. Because, if some teams have done that, look, FC Dallas sells them before they even make an appearance on the senior team a lot of times, which is unfortunate for Dallas, because, they're just, as a Dallas, if you're a Dallas fan, they take so much more pride in their academy, not the fans, the team does, than they do product on the field, that it's got to be frustrating. At least here we had the trophy that really validated that last year. Yeah,
absolutely. I agree with you right there. But that's pretty much all my thoughts on the game against New England. Not much more you can say after a 2-1 loss. So I haven't done this in a couple of weeks. That is Blunder of the Week. And so I'm going to go ahead. I don't think I've played a clip for Blunder of the Week for you guys since I've been doing this. So I will play the clip for Blunder of the Week. But my Blunder of the Week is going to go to a guy that it's his job to know sports. He is KCRA Sports Director Dale Rodgers. KCRA is a news channel in Sacramento, California, and they decided to do a quick recap of the Gold Cup, or should I say, the World Cup final between the U.S. and Mexico.
Mexico in the Gold Cup final last night in Las Vegas, inside of the sold-out Allegiant Stadium. That's the home of the Raiders. During the 117th minute in extra time, Miles Robinson puts a head on it, and it's your game winner. Watch it one more time. Kellen Acosta is out of bounds, about to kick it in. It goes to the right. Miles Robinson gets through the traffic, gets enough for the header. Team USA. And the crowd goes wild. USA wins the 2021 Soccer World Cup, defeating Mexico in the final 1-0. They don't make the Olympics, but they do make the World Cup final. And they win the darn. It's a win, man. There you go, baby. It's a win.
Thank you, John.
You got it.
All right.
Man, and you could tell that he sounded so confident in what he was saying. I don't know if he was reading off of a teleprompt or if he was just going with his guts, but there is so much wrong with that clip right there. He said Acosta was out of bounds taking the free kick.
Yes.
You can't be out of bounds taking a free kick.
So much meme potential throughout this whole clip here.
He gets it right the first time, right? He calls it the Gold Cup. Yeah. And then at the end, he starts talking about, how it's such a tragedy that we didn't qualify for the Olympics. And he goes and says, I forget that I said the Gold Cup. They won the World Cup. Not even the Gold Cup. They won the World Cup. And I'm like, you said it right the first time. And then you somehow make it seem like the Olympics are better than the World Cup, because you said it's a shame that the U.S. didn't make the Olympics, but they won the World Cup. So that's telling me that you think that the Olympics are higher than the World Cup, when just any soccer fan is going to tell you, that is 100% incorrect.
It's a great clip. You got the homo, the Raiders part at the beginning, which is just weird, awkward delivery, right? And then you have his awkward delivery where he takes a lot of pauses to Kellen Acosta hits this one out of bounds, and he rises for the header and gets it in. Just like really awkward pauses throughout the whole thing. And then you got we are 2021 World Soccer Champions, the USA over Mexico. I thought it would have felt different winning this, but I got to get the merch, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I have not looked on social media to see a follow-up if Dell said, I'm sorry, I got it wrong or whatnot. I was like, I don't have time to look this up. I'm just going to play
I don't think he did.
But I'm like, come on, it's your job as a sports director to at least have an understanding of all these different sports. Like, I know if I was to go on a radio show talk about basketball, I probably wouldn't know what I'm saying about basketball. I wouldn't have a lot to say about hockey, but baseball, football, or soccer, yeah, it'd be good. And I think that's the reason why we don't see any sports people talk about soccer that much on the radio, because they clearly don't know what they're talking about. So that is my blunder of the week. Hopefully you guys enjoy that. But Jordan, we have a great game coming up. Hopefully it's going to be a great game against Club America this Thursday night, the biggest game in Philadelphia Union history. And then after this game, then we're going to say the game September 15th is the biggest game in club history. So we've said that a couple times already this season. Oh, this is the biggest game in club history. And we said it last year, winning the Supporters Shield. We said, oh, this is the biggest game in club history. So the last couple of years, we've said a lot of this is the biggest game, but nobody can deny
those
this
were all
game.
True, though.
They were, at the time. They were.
We're just one-upping it.
Yeah, absolutely. So there is no denying that this game against Club America is the biggest game right now for the Philadelphia Union. So this will be the second manager the Union have faced off against in the last 2 weeks that has ties with Real Madrid via a youth coach or a manager of the first team. And so as Club America's manager, Santiago Solari, he used to manage Real Madrid from October 2018 until March 2019. He actually won the FIFA Club World Cup with Real Madrid, and then they continued to play poorly in the league and eventually got fired. And I believe they went out and hired Zidane right afterwards. And he just goes ahead and wins. I don't even know if he won anything in his second season. I don't know. I don't follow La Liga that much. Maybe he did. I'm not going to go ahead and speak and say, oh, yeah, he won the Champions League or he won La Liga, because I'm not sure once he came back if he did either one of those things. But what I am sure about is that so far in Liga MX, Club America, they are fourth place with 3 games played so far this season with a record of 2 wins and 1 draw. They've scored 4 goals while conceding once. The left back, Reyes Chavez, is the leading goal scorer with 2 goals, and Vinícius leads them in goals with 3 goals and 4 CCL games. Club America, they have the most CCL titles with 7, and they're coming in as favorites, as we all know. Now, the only player that is missing for Club America is their young defensive midfielder, 20-year-old Santiago Navida, due to a ruptured ankle. He's only played a couple minutes in the league this season so far, usually as a substitute. But to go ahead and just look at this team, 7 CCL wins. Of course they're going to be the favorites, right? Nobody expects us to go down to Azteca and do anything. My 3 keys to victory are 1, first and foremost, no defensive mistakes. Club America, they're going to attack down the wings. They use their pace. They have 25 dribbles in 3 games so far in the league. They sending a ton of crosses, 59 crosses in 3 games. That's a ton of crosses right there. And for the Union to stop that, they've got to keep a solid back line. They've got to make decisive decisions. They can't get caught on the ball too long. They've got to read the plays as they're happening, not having any mental mistakes in the back, because that mental mistake could cost the Union. And once Club America gets that first goal, who's to say that they don't come right back down and score a second goal just like that, and the Union could potentially get blown out. Point number 2, though, you got to win the midfield battle. Look, Club America, they're really strong in the midfield with Richard Sanchez and Pedro Aquina. Both of those guys are super feisty. They're not afraid to put in a challenge. They don't allow you much time on the ball. So it's going to be interesting to see Jose Martinez go up against these guys where they try to get under opponents' skins. And we know how Jose Martinez is. It doesn't take him that long to get going. And if somebody puts in a hard challenge on him, he might run his mouth a little bit too much and get himself in the book. But we also know that it is CONCACAF, and it seems like the referees have no clue what they're doing half the time. They let everything go in CCL play, and it's going to be tough for Jose, and I think the Union are probably going to run with 2 defensive midfielders in this game. I'll give my thoughts on a particular lineup here in a second. And then point number 3, I think it's very important for the Union to score an away goal. The away goal is going to be so crucial for the Union. Look, if they can leave Azteca only down 1 goal, if they lose this thing 2-1, I think that's a victory in my books for the Union. The away goal is so hard for the Union to go ahead and take that back with them to Subaru Park, because let's face it, Club America, they're going to score goals. Once they get into Subaru Park for the second leg, they're going to score at least a goal. where I've seen there's talks out there that one side of the stadium is going to be nothing but Club America fans, which I can't believe that. Look, we might be an away team in our own stadium with the amount of fans that are going to come there to support Club America. I'm fully expecting that, but the Union, they got to do everything they can to get an away goal down here in Mexico City. And if they do that, if they follow all three of those keys, I think we could see the Union walk away with a draw. I don't think it's going to happen. I think a 2-1 Union loss is going to be more than likely the case, but hey, I would be happy to be wrong. I think we'll obviously see Andre Blake as the goalkeeper, the same back four that we've seen all season with Kai Wagner, Bizo, Jack, and Jacob Glesnes. I think, like I said, I think the Union are going to run two defensive midfielders with Leon Flock and Jose Martinez. Jim Curtin did mention something about that a couple weeks ago in a press conference. I try to think of what game he was talking about that in. I can't remember what it was, but he did make mention that, yeah, we've been working on a number 6 formation. So I think this is the game that they would bring that out. Then obviously Gazdag, Bedoya, Santos, you could put out on the wing with Casper as your lone striker up top, who, by the way, don't forget, is the leading goal scorer in this competition with 5. But if the Union can just find some way not to get blown out, to get an away goal, I think Union fans would be very, very happy coming away with that result. Jordan, your thoughts for this game?
Not as optimistic as you, I guess. I'm looking at some of these stats here. And when you look at Club America at home, so they've only played 3 games so far this season, so I'm going to base it more off of last year. Club America at home usually score, last year they scored 38 goals in 19 games and only gave up 18 goals at home last year. Now, so if you can hold on like you were saying, and only give up one or, maybe do a 2-1 loss at Azteca, their away form, they only scored 27 goals and they give up 23 away. So you have a shot away from home then. And when you look at the Philadelphia Union at home in the Champions League, 3 wins and a draw, but away from home, averaging 0.5 points per game, which doesn't really matter because it's knockout stages, but with 3 losses and 2 draws away from home. But we were able to get to this point by getting those losses or draws were as advantageous for us with the way it worked out with the away matches and stuff. So with the way that the Union are playing recently, I'm going to think that this is, unfortunately, I think they're going to get shellacked by Club America. We see this all the time in MLS Champions League history where, they go to a Mexico team and they get battered, 4-0, 5-0. And all it takes is, like you've pointed out a lot in the history of the past few weeks, where the Union are giving up goals in the first 15 minutes of the game, in the first 15 minutes of the second half. And if that happens, then the floodgates open. And the Club America is going to feel on top of the world. And we've seen that happen with MLS teams in the past where, as soon as they let in one, it's over. The floodgates open up.
Yeah, absolutely. So, look, fingers crossed, it's a 10 p.m. kickoff on the East Coast. So it's a super late game. Everybody that's going to the Union's official party in the city to watch this game, good luck for you guys staying up to watch this game. I'm sure a lot of people are going to do their best to stay up and watch this game. For all the fans that are down in Mexico, hope you guys are enjoying your time down there. Hopefully you guys can bring us back some positive vibes. Like I said, hopefully bring back an away goal. We don't get blown out, but we shall see what happens. But Jordan, it's been a blast to catch up with you back on the show. Let everybody know where they can find you on social media and all your different shows.
Yeah, if you want to follow myself, just me personally, on Twitter at Cravens86, the Stateside Show, Stateside Soccer Shows on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Everything is at Stateside Show for that one. That one is nice and easy for me. Just Twitter at Stateside Show, Instagram at Stateside Show, Facebook.com/Stateside Show, or email us statesideshow@gmail.com.
Absolutely. Short and simple and to the point. And if you guys still aren't following the podcast on social media, follow on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Free Kick Pod. wherever you get your podcasts, The Free Kick. Check out the website that I mention all the time that I don't write on, thefreekickpodcast.com. But Jordan, hopefully one of us are actually, let's hope that I'm right. Let's hope that you're wrong, right? That's what we hope for.
That's what we hope, yeah.
Can come away, make us proud and everything, and not come into Subaru Park down by 4 or 5 goals. Because if that's the case, I feel like we'll see less and less Union fans show up. Because look, 9 o'clock kickoff in Subaru Park in the second leg is not going to be sold out. It's not going to be
on
a ton
a weekday.
Of fans. On a weekday, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's look, the Union have a lot of work to do for them to do any convincing for fans to come out during a weekday at a 9 p.m. kickoff. But until then, my name is Todd, and this is the Free Kick Podcast.